Here are my top 10 albums of 2022. Number 10, Pain Remains by Lorna Shore. Lorna Shore was a new band for me, starting from last year when they released their single To the Hellfire, where Will Ramos blew everybody's minds away with his pig squeal breakdown, as I like to call it. He's truly a unique vocalist, and I don't listen to deathcore pretty much at all. And so for him to kind of break the mold for a lot of people, I think, and get people to pay attention to this genre that is very niche and very particular for to get into. It's hyper specific in terms of the audience it's trying to reach. But this album kind of was just great from start to finish. One of the standouts, or my favorite song from the album, I should say, is Into the Earth, which they released as a single, which is my favorite Lorna Shore song that I've heard. Like I said, Will Ramos adds a really dynamic and crazy vocal performance throughout this album, doing crazy like low guttural screams and like high shrill like pig squeal screams and everything in between, making these little goblin noises throughout. But what else really struck me about this album was the orchestral music that plays throughout the whole album. It's kind of like a operatic type of music with vocals and string instruments that just layers in the background, makes a real beauty behind all of the crazy cacophony that is going on up front with the chuggy guitar and the crazy drums and the insane vocals. And I really dug this as an album. I think, like I said, Into the Earth was kind of a standout. Sun Eater's quite good. I also think the last three songs, The Pain Remains Suites, really stand out of this album. The only knock that I have against it, and the reason it's not higher, is one, like I said, it's not really my type of music per se. And two, I just found it to be a bit samey, and that may be because I'm not really familiar with deathcore, but I found the songs started to sound a little bit samey as they went on. Number 9, we have Totem by Seder. Seder is another new band to me this year that just kind of popped on my Instagram feed, and like there was a little snippet of their song Vector, and I was like, I really dig this. So I looked them up on Spotify, came out with this new album, and I just loved it. It's really technical. It's kind of like a mathcore prog type metal music, and it has a mix of clean and harsh vocals, which is kind of like my favorite mix in a album. But really the instruments are the standout here. I think the vocalists are good, but they're not my favorites. I think this is just a testament to just really intricate songwriting and really amazing riffs throughout. Yeah, it's really impressive. Haven is my favorite song off the album, followed closely by Bloom and Attrition and Totem, which is the namesake of the album. Has also two songs that are kind of like more interlude-y, and while I usually don't like a little interlude song thing, they're pretty good, especially the one that comes before Haven is kind of really sets the tone and really goes into that song, goes into the next song really beautifully, I think. So it's a good one overall, just really technical. Just didn't love it as a whole. It also can get a bit samey for me listening to the entire album, but yeah, still in my top 10 for sure. Now this one, 8, Oni by Darko US. This is also a new band to me. I know it has the singer of Chelsea's Grin and one other member, I think that's from another pretty famous kind of like a heavier band. And this album is like my workout album of 2022. Like when they have such like an electronic a sound, but very heavy as well. Like there is the guitars, but there is some electronic stuff going on as well. And the vocals are crazy and harsh, and it's mostly harsh vocals throughout. And they're just so like, it's just when you're lifting weights or you're going for that last set, it's really like, yeah, let's get it going. The only thing that brings this album down, I think, are the softer songs. There's a few of them. Some of them are beautiful. Or rather, one in particular, I think is really good. But this kind of creates or rather commits the cardinal sin of having its worst song being the namesake of the album. The song Oni, I think, just didn't work for me very much at all. And it was one of the softer songs as well. And I just don't really love that song. And so if you're going to name your, I'm sure that's not the intent if you name your album Oni, for that to be the worst song. But some of the stands out, Anna, Rosario's Finger, RTGOB, Acid Inject, like all of the heavy songs basically rip on this album. And so those are constantly in my rotation for working out. And, it's just good. If you want to get pumped up, if you want to like, just really hit it. It's great. And Evolving was the first song that I heard from this. Nick Nocturnal's YouTube channel, he did a little review of it, or not a review, a reaction video to it. And I was like, wow, these guys are insane. The music video is insane. I got to check it out. And they were phenomenal. Number 7, Remember You Will Die by Polyphia. I think this will probably be on a lot of people's top 10s, probably a lot higher on other people's. And honestly, it was like at my number 3 at one point. But I just don't find myself returning to it as much as my other stuff. I think Ego Death is probably the best song of the year, at least instrumentally. It's probably the best song of the year, with Steve Vai there as the accompaniment or as the feature. And this is just another extremely technical album. I think the only thing that lets it down is that it includes vocals, and I think the vocal performances are not necessarily bad, but I just think this music is so technical. It's so there's virtuoso guitars of Scott LePage and Tim, and they just do such an amazing job at their job. And the drummer's great, the bassist is great, the two Clays, they're awesome. But it's really the guitars that are the forefront. And so when you put vocals in there, I think only Sophia Black in the ABC really shines, because she does that insane ABC alphabet run in the song that I don't know how she sings it. It's insane. But even that isn't my favorite song. My favorite song is Ego Death. And then all the singles that aren't, I like Chimera is really good, but I think it kind of isn't as good once the vocal feature comes in. It's an amazing song. I really liked Reverie. And then all the singles, Playing God and Neurotica, are really high up there as well. Amazing album. I just don't find myself coming back to it as much, and it's not been out for as long as some of these other ones that are on my list. But still, it's a phenomenal album. You can't deny the crazy musicianship that went into it. Number 6, Fear by Stan Atlantic. This was the first album to come out that really was on my radar for this year, and I believe this was just like blew me out of the water. I was not a big fan of Stan Atlantic before. I hadn't really heard of them, and then the Talks a Lot Boys, a YouTube channel that I love to follow, they reviewed this album, and I got into this album and was like, wow, this is really good. I think Tyler from the channel did a reaction video to Switchblade, and I was like, okay, I love Switchblade. And then I checked out all their singles, and each single I found better and better. My favorite song off the album isn't a single. It's called Cabin Fever. I think it's the last or second to last song on the album, and it's amazing. But this song is just like punk rock meets trap music, and it's just so great. The lead singer, I think her name's Bonnie, she's awesome. And this is just throughout, it's a great album. I love Hair Out, I love Death Wish, I love Switchblade, I love Molotov OK. There's really only like a handful of songs that I say are just okay, and I think EXO is probably the worst song. I'd probably still give it like a 6 out of 10, but it's the least interesting song on the album for me. And there's kind of a suite of 4 songs, including that one, that are like just meh, and they all come one after another, and so that kind of brings it down a little bit. But literally every other song on the album is an absolute banger. And so Fear by Stan Atlantic didn't quite make the top 5, but it was super close, and it was my top album of the year for a while until these later ones came out. All right, number five, To Only a Few at First by Royal Coda. I had no idea that Kurt Travis was in a band, who he was formerly in DGD, that he had made a band with Will Swan, currently of DGD, as well as some others, and that Royal Coda has been a thing for like, I think since 2018, maybe before then, but they've been playing, and this is the first time I had heard of them, other than maybe a few singles. Becoming the Memory from their last album is a really awesome song. But this song just, or rather, this album just outdid, I think, anything they've done before. It was truly phenomenal. And this is one that, again, I didn't re listen to a ton, but I find myself going back to it more and more now. And I love how every song title, like if you take them all together from first to last, it makes like a pretty beautiful poem, and I love that. I'd say To Only a Few at First, it also is probably one of the weaker songs from the album To Only a Few at First, so it does kind of commit the cardinal sin, but it's not a bad song at all. I'd say it's probably like an 8 out of 10, so it's not bad at all. This is a super solid album. I think the best song has got to be We Slowly Lose Hope for Things to Come. Very wordy, but is amazing song, and this is the best Kurt Travis has ever sounded. I like his DGD stuff, but this is by far the best Kurt Travis I've ever heard, and I can't wait to see what else he does. I know he has other side projects as well, but I can't wait for more Royal Coda. Number four, Anti-My by the Deer Hunter. The Deer Hunter is one of my absolute favorite bands. They are like a concept album. I actually met a guy on the SkyTrain coming home, and he had a Coheed and Cambria shirt, which was my favorite band for many years. And I saw he had that shirt on. I was like, oh man, that's cool. And so we started talking about Coheed. And he's like, hey man, you should check out these two other bands. And one of the other bands was the Deer Hunter. And I can't remember what the other one was, so that one didn't stick. But the Deer Hunter, I absolutely love all their Acts albums. They have Acts 1 through 5, kind of like a play. And they have a concept album. I think the Act 4 and 5 are by far their best work. And this is right up there with it. Honestly, this album is pretty much flawless from a music standpoint. And I love that it's a new concept, not connected to the other stuff, but it follows the kind of the mythology that they created in the kind of, I think they did a short film, and I forget what the name of it was, but it ties in here. Oh, Indigo Child. That's right, because the very beginning of this album opens with Indigo. I'd say every odd song, there's only 8 songs on this album, which you think, oh man, that's short, but it's not. It's almost an hour long, so they're long songs, which Deer Hunter tends to do, and that can be their greatest strength and weakness, I think, sometimes, because sometimes I just want to hear a song and 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 5, and get out. But some of these, I think one of them, Ring 3 Luxury, is 10 minutes long, and I think the first part of the song is amazing, 10 out of 10. I think the last part of the song is still like really good, but I'd say like 8 out of 10, so it balances out about a 9 out of 10. But my favorite song off the album is the last one, which is called Ring 1 Tower, and go up Ring 8 to 1, kind of from the outer rooms where the undesirables are to where basically the really rich capitalistic guy at the top is Ring 1. He's in his tower looking over the common folk or whatever. And I love how usually with the Deer Hunter, their villain songs, like this one is, like from the villain's perspective, are really like like catchy and like upbeat. And I love that they do that. It's kind of like a contrast. They do that also with Power, Ring 4 Power, when it's talking about the policemen and kind of their abuse of power. And so it's got a lot of social commentary. Not all of it I agree with. It's got some social commentary, some religious commentary and stuff, but I really appreciate the music. I do like the story, and I just think they knocked it out of the park again. And this is one of my most anticipated albums, so I was really happy to do